If you're running any sort of business, then there is definitely an opportunity for you to increase the number of people who are aware of you by using YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine after Google. It's owned by by Google itself, of course. I don't know how that fits in with AI these days. Obviously, we can search on AI as well, but it is just an amazing tool for inbound marketing. And what I mean by that is where you're just putting content out there and people are organically finding you through that process. Now, my entire business is effectively being built off YouTube. And I started, I guess, a little under 5 years ago with my YouTube channel, this very channel, Take One Tech. And it started really as a way for me to practice the process of making videos in one take with no edits. I wasn't actually thinking about it from a point of view of this was going to be my main business going forward. And what happened is over time, and really quite a relatively short space of time, just less than a year, in fact, I had created a separate course that was outside of YouTube, and then created an entire suite of courses that then evolved into all sorts of other offerings that I've got. And it was entirely, as I say, built organically on YouTube. No advertising, and just developed from there. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you a little bit of the sort of process and also a bit of a behind the scenes of what I've been building sort of in conjunction with this as part of a creator business built off the back of YouTube. A lot of people start on YouTube thinking that the goal is maximum number of subscribers, maximum number of views and all of these things, and thinking that YouTube is the be all and end all. I've never actually thought about it like that at all. It is always a case of how can it support the business itself. And what you'll find is that if you are focused on these really large numbers, in terms of hundreds of thousands, millions or whatever of subscribers, because you see some really popular channels that have those numbers, yes, that's great if you can get to it. But in actual fact, you don't need that many subscribers or views in order to make an impact and start generating revenue off the platform. So if you look at what I've generated in terms of AdSense revenue on YouTube, it pales into insignificance compared to even just sort of monthly turnover in the business itself now. So what I found was when I started, I had the ability for people to book calls with me. I was making tutorial-based content, and so I made it possible for people to come along and book calls. For example, I had simple things like little icon packs and stuff like that for Stream Deck, which was obviously relevant to my content. And within I started in May. Technically, was when I first went live, May 2021. And by the end of the year, I had actually got monetized on YouTube. So that means 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. But I was already monetized way before then from people booking calls and so on. And that really gave me the impetus then to, develop more programs around the one-to-one coaching and so on that I was doing. I was also noticing that, the content that I was creating on YouTube was rapidly going out of date. I made a lot of content specifically around Ecamm Live, which is the live production software that I'm using to create all of the videos here. And for all of my workshops and things like that I do. So everything is all Ecamm, but Ecamm moves at really quite a rate in terms of the development. So some of the videos that I was making were out of date. And so I started with this process of making courses that were basically giving people a resource that would be updated as changes were made, but would also be the complete masterclass, for example, which was what I called my Ecamm course. Maybe I can just quickly show you some of the courses that I've been making sort of behind the scenes. So if you're not aware of these and have been watching the channel, this was the sort of evolution, if you like. I started with the Ecamm Live Masterclass, and that actually came from me doing a full 4-hour video all about Ecamm, and it was zero to hero. I think it was 4.5 hours, did all in one take, no edits, and it was the complete tutorial of how to use every aspect of Ecamm Live. And sure enough, within 6 months, it was out of date because we had a new version out and then another one. So I thought, well, let me make a course where I can break it down into individual videos. Obviously, you can have individual videos on YouTube, but sometimes there is this thing of, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you go looking for a particular tutorial on something, yes, you can find out how to do that, but you don't necessarily need to know like what the gaps in your knowledge are that actually are things that you should probably know. And that's where something like a guided course comes in, because it does actually take people, you think about what the transformation is that you want to provide in your course, taking somebody from point A to point B and thinking something about what all the milestones are in that process, and then you can basically, guide people along that path and show them everything that they do need to know, whether or not they realize it or not. And so that's what the Ecamm Live Masterclass was. Originally, it was a paid course. It is now completely free. I fully updated it about a year ago, and it will be updated again shortly because we've got a new version of Ecamm coming. But that is now a completely free masterclass. But originally, it was a paid course. And then over a period of, I guess, a couple of years, really, I just made more and more courses that were all relevant to, my core audience and the things that they were interested in, starting with more tech focused. So Ecamm Live, obviously. Then the Rodecaster Masterclass, Stream Deck Masterclass, Keynote, which is what I use for all of my immersive presentations, and the Video Studio Masterclass. And what's happened, though, with Take One Tech is it's more than just about tech these days. It's more about the sort of business, because I'm not just sharing the tech that I'm using to, show up on video effectively, but also sharing, the actual process of building a business based on video. And so that's where things like the Outsourcing Masterclass comes into play. Now, I mention all of these courses because, whereas before my video content, when I started on YouTube, I was posting basically a video a day, more or less, or an average of a video a day for the first 100 days. I extended that out for a year, fell a little bit short of that, but I think I did 300 and something in the year. And really, that was when it was my sort of side hustle, if you like, which was something I was doing just for this practicing this process. And I was only really spending no more than a couple of hours a day on it, because it would basically be 4 a.m. till 6 a.m. was my kind of like YouTube time. And that was the time when I could just create the video and create the thumbnail, upload the video, manage all of the YouTube side of things. And it was just those 2 hours a day. Now, I mention this because recently I've run the Ecamm Live Accelerator, which wrapped up just over a week ago. And somebody once said in one of those sessions that, when I was talking about posting, and somebody said, well, it's okay for me because this is my full-time thing. And so, it's no problem to find the time to record videos. But I had to sort of pick them up on that, because actually the irony is that when this wasn't my full-time thing, that is when I was posting the most videos. That period from April 21 until, May 21 till April 22 was when I posted, the bulk of the videos on my channel. Actually, that video a day average was running from just those sort of 11 months. Now, what happened after that was I started making the videos for the courses, and this became more my full-time thing. And actually, I found that I was spending more time on the video content creation for those courses than I was for the actual YouTube side of things. So why I mention this is because, you don't need to think that you need to have this as your full-time thing in order for it to be successful and to build a business from. But also, what I'm saying is, if you have got an existing business and you're just looking to, use this as an inbound marketing tool, you can absolutely build an entire business from scratch on it. So therefore, if you've got a really robust existing business, then being able to create content around that is a great way to sort of bring people into that. And it doesn't need to be a video a day, spending 2 hours a day on it. The cadence could be more like just a video a week, and maybe spend a couple of hours a week where you record a video and you post it. If you can actually get to sort of batch record, as in, come up with a list of maybe 5 or 6 videos that you want to make, spend a day and just get them all recorded and get them all scheduled and whatever, and then have them sort of dripped out over the next couple of weeks, month, quarter, whatever it happens to be, it can be something that is really, really sustainable and is going to bring people in to you. Now, why do I think that YouTube is such a great platform for this over some of the other social platforms? Well, it's because YouTube isn't a social platform. Yes, you can post on Facebook, and Facebook can decide whether or not they're going to put that into somebody's feed. Obviously, you can do paid advertising. That's a completely different ball game. But really, with the social platforms, it's a case of, you are at the mercy of the platform as to whether people are actually going to see the content or not. And they don't have the same sort of search function. LinkedIn is great for business, but it isn't necessarily a great search engine. And you're seeing things based on, how other people have interacted with it, because it is very much a sort of business social platform. The very key difference with YouTube over and above the other video platforms, like TikTok and things like that, is really that it is search driven. And so if people are looking for solutions to problems, then your videos are going to be shown there. And they don't even have to be on YouTube to be searching for them. You will have seen when you search for anything on Google, if you type in a search term, the very first thing that usually comes at the top, well, actually, I suppose they put their AI result at the top now, the AI summary, but just directly below that, though, you will get a list of videos. And so if you are creating content that is answering specific questions and obviously related to your area of expertise, people are just going to find it organically by them searching for those results. And then obviously when people start to follow you, then they get to see the things posted into their feeds as well, as they've once they've subscribed or watched your videos before, they'll get served more of them. And there is something obviously that is very different about watching somebody on video than watching or reading a post or whatever. You really get a sense of how that person is, how they show up, how their expertise that they've got, and how they deliver it. What you're seeing with me is exactly what you get. I'm obviously live, so this is a live stream, so there's no getting away from that. But I actually make my videos as live one-take recordings as well. So there's basically no editing. You're just getting the unfiltered me with all of my little misspeaks and things like that I make during the process as well. But I think that adds to the level of sort of realism that you get, and that a lot of people strive for authenticity on video, and you sometimes see people that are trying a little bit too hard, and you see that they're actually maybe trying to edit something to make themselves look authentic. Well, the way to be authentic is just be yourself. It sounds so stupid to say, but that is it at the end of the day. And just be completely unfiltered, and allow the natural mistakes that you might make to come through, because those are just natural. So that is really the power of Ecamm Live as well. I don't want to go into a whole Ecamm Live thing, but that Ecamm Live was the thing for me, the catalyst that kind of transformed the way that I create my videos on YouTube in one take with no edits, and it was the impetus for me starting the channel. And so I always say thank you to Ecamm for creating the software and the community around it that is so supportive. But what that allows me to do is obviously all the things that I'm doing here, and switching between different scenes. If I want to show you a screen share, here's one of my programs, which I'll talk about later. I can just do all of that with the touch of a button. So if you are curious about using Ecamm Live and you creating videos in one take with no edits and just naturally speaking to your potential audience or clients, links to all of that is down in the description. I won't go into that. One thing I will mention right now, though, is that I am, in fact, now doing multi-streaming in both horizontal and vertical formats. I'm testing a new beta feature in Ecamm Live. So technically, there are 2 YouTube streams going out. So just in case you're watching it in vertical or horizontal, that is why. So let me just see where I'm up to, because one of these streams here seems as if maybe that stream's not working. We'll see. So let's move on then to some of the other things that I've been building behind the scenes, because one of the things I got relatively recently was I started posting a few more recorded videos. And I mentioned that, I kind of slowed down my posting from a video a day. Well, it was really quite an abrupt stop rather than slowing down, because I went from, as I say, almost daily videos to basically posting, I think in 2023, there was maybe 11 videos in the whole year, so maybe averaging one a month. 2024 was about the same, maybe 9. And then I think last year in 2025, I think I posted maybe 6 videos in total, as in recorded videos throughout the whole year. I was generally keeping up with my weekly live stream though, so that's been something that I've been relatively consistent with, apart from a 3-month break last year as well. And so there has been that content going out, but people will look at live video differently to recorded video. I always think that people feel that they've potentially missed the boat if they see that something was streamed 6 months ago rather than a video that was recorded 6 months ago, because the recording could still well be perfectly, valid, and things haven't changed that much. But there is that sort of slight thing of, FOMO, or maybe that's the wrong word, after the facts happened, but that idea that, something's already passed. And also, I think people have got different ideas about what live streams are. So, sometimes it's just a case of people checking in with the chat. as opposed to, the actual content, really. And I sort of switched up the way that I did my live streams, again, about that same period, so 3 years ago, whatever it was, where I did just treat my live stream as a video, so I just go straight into the content. At some point, then I do check in with the chat if there's folks chatting, and get to questions and things like that. But I always start with the content so that people who are watching on the replay are getting the full value of that, rather than, just coming into a bit of a chit-chat conversation or whatever. But nevertheless, I do think, though, that people still have that connotation associated with a live stream. And what I notice is, yes, I have got higher views on my live stream since I switched up the format and start with content first and then questions later. However, it still is nothing compared to just posting a video. And one of the things I noticed was, I'm on my live streams, maybe I get after the fact, I'll see that there's been a total of maybe 100 people viewed it, during the live stream, dropping in and out or whatever. And then maybe after the fact, within a certain period, there'll be, 5 times that number of people. But over time, with this different format where you start with the content, they do still have the longevity. So I've got some live streams that are, 100,000 views, and there was only 100 people watched it live, but 100,000 have watched the replay. That said, the recorded videos definitely still perform better. And when I posted a few videos just over sort of New Year and since then, I've noticed that is absolutely true. People do prefer those videos, and I guess part of it actually is the length of the video. So a live stream, typically my live streams tend to be, let's say around about an hour long. This one probably will be a bit shorter, maybe 30, 40 minutes, something like that. But they can go a little bit longer. And so there is that thing to think about as well. When you're looking at your recorded content, rather than making, a 45-minute video on a topic, if it can be split down into, 15-minute chunks or something like that, you can play around with that. And certainly some of the videos that I've posted recently have got a difference in length in that respect. So they've got higher views. But like when I posted the video recently about the what was it? The new update to the Elgato Stream Deck software, for example, within a couple of weeks, that was up to sort of 10,000 views or 6,000 or whatever it was. I forget now exactly. But the point was, it was significantly higher right out of the gate than my live streams. So the reason I mention all of this, though, is because when I did start posting those videos, I got some comments. I got some really nice emails from people who contacted me directly, and comments in the videos saying, really enjoying watching the videos again, and we've missed seeing these coming out regularly. And so I thought it would be worth me just sort of explaining where I've been and what I've been doing, because to me it feels like actually this has been something that I've been working even harder on, rather than I've been away from YouTube. I have been away from YouTube, but the content creation has been even deeper than before, really. It's just all been around these programs, so and the courses. So if we think about these courses that I created at some point, I guess I'd done the sort of first 4 of those courses, and this was within that 2022, I guess. And then at the beginning of 2023, I launched the Academy. And so this was the first of the programs that I've created. Whoops, wrong scene there. Wrong button, rather. And so the idea of having all of these standalone programs is obviously one thing. People like to have just a course that they can watch on demand, but I wanted to create something that was a bit deeper than that and gave people that extra sort of level of community and support and so on. And so that's when I created the Digital Stage Academy. Actually, at the time, called it the Take One Tech Academy, but I'm changing a number of things, as we'll see in a moment when I reveal some of these other things. Digital Stage features a lot, because it's not just about the tech, it's about this virtual stage that we have in terms of video, whether we are on video like now, or recorded video, or a live stream, or whether we're showing up in Zoom, in events, in webinars, or whatever it is. We're basically stepping onto our own digital stage, and we have all of this potential, actually, and I would say untapped potential. The number of people who are still showing up to Zoom calls with their built-in camera and mic, and no real thought about the way that they're actually presenting themselves in terms of the quality of the entire on-screen environment. Obviously, they might be presentable in themselves, but I mean, actually using the screen real estate to its maximum effect, it is an untapped potential. Lots of people are still not doing anything with it, and so this idea that we've got the digital stage and we can deliver our value effectively is what that's all about. So that was the reason for that particular name change. And the Digital Stage Academy is $27 a month or $270 a year. You'll find links to all of these in the description. But that's basically a subscription model that gives access to all of those on-demand courses, and then also some other resources in there as well as the community, and also as well as the backstage for this, for example. So every time I go live on YouTube, we have a bit of a Zoom session before, during, and after as well. So that's, if you want to come to ask questions before and after, that is your opportunity to do that as well. Now, I did have two tiers of the Academy originally, and it was the Academy and then the Academy VIP. And the difference between those was that the VIP tier of the Academy, we had these weekly office hours sessions. And that was, initially the idea was, well, this is an opportunity for people to just come and join the Zoom and then get their questions answered. But really what happened is, with such a great group of folks that we've got in there, I would say it's evolved that it's more than just a Q&A session. Yes, people can come along and ask questions, but it's more about the discussions that everybody can add to that as well, because it's not just a case of me being somebody there to just sit and answer questions, when other people have got their own opinions, or we can all have other ideas about things. And so it became more of a mastermind. And so I've evolved that into the Momentum Mastermind, which I'll mention in a moment. But I also separated it out from the the VIP tier from the Academy, because from a business point of view, and to explain a little bit behind my thought process here, if you are a content creator and have got some sort of content or education based business that you're looking to use YouTube for, sharing a little bit about the structure here I think might be quite helpful, because people often ask me, how I decide between what I put essentially behind a paywall of one form or another and the information that I give for free on YouTube. And I always say, well, I never really hold back anything on YouTube. You're never going to hear me utter the words. You'll have to sign up to some program to get the answer to that, or I explain that inside some other program that you've got to pay for. My view on this is always that I'm a complete open book. So if anybody's got any questions, I will always, answer them to the best of my ability. I also will always, share openly on YouTube, and often the content that I'm sharing on YouTube is even just borrowed directly from, a course. For example, if you want to know how to set up your audio routing on the Rodecaster, then there is a video that I made about it on YouTube, and it's basically an excerpt from the Rodecaster Masterclass. But what you don't get in the free content, though, is some level of organization and some level of access directly to me. So I've got on-demand courses that give you that organization, that take you from A to B. We've then got the Academy, where you get access to all of those courses, and the community, but there's no real sort of direct, sessions, live sessions or anything like that. So then we've got some additional sort of tiers going up here. Now, so the reason why I separated out the VIP, though, was because thinking about this sort of ladder, if you like, or this sequence of a sort of ascension path, if you like, through my programs, the Academy is something that is, from my perspective, from a delivery point of view. So again, if you're creating content around your YouTube and looking to create courses around it, the subscription model is essentially infinitely scalable. It doesn't affect me necessarily, how many people sign up. So it can be infinitely scalable. I could have, 10 people in that program, or I could have, 100,000 people in that program, because it's all about just access to the on-demand training and so on. So then the next level up from that, though, is something called Built from the Inside Out. Now, this really is something that I've developed over the past 6 months, I guess, really since, I suppose, April last year was when I had the idea for this. And this is a sort of flagship program that I've started that I'm going to be running every 6 months. But it really answers a problem with all of my other training, because all of my other training is, on-demand courses, or, courses where I'm showing processes, tutorials, and things like that. And one of the things that's missing from all of those is, yes, you can have the step-by-step guides. And, I've taken lots of training in the past where you follow the process. The trouble is that doesn't really address all of the issues that you have when you are looking to implement something. And maybe I could just actually demonstrate this by, taking you to the website for the program itself. There are 5 components that you need when you are looking to implement something. And this is for sustainable success on whatever, program it is that you are trying to follow or whatever you're trying to implement in your life or in your business. So first of all, yes, you need the strategy. So you've got to have some clarity on the direction that you need to move in. And certainly a guided program can provide you with that. The step-by-step guide. Here's how to get from A to B. You also need the systems to follow. And again, that's very systematic. It's step-by-step. Here's the process that I followed. You can follow the same process as well. But here's the 2 that are so often missing. The state and the self. So state is about basically having the correct sort of daily routines and rhythms that actually support the implementation of that. It's okay, signing up to a course, but if you don't physically carve out the time to do it, then you're never going to get it done. And that sounds pretty obvious. But the other thing though about that is, when are you actually creating that time? And so often, we try to do things at really the wrong time of the day for, when is optimal for us. And the second aspect, which is often overlooked, is the self. So, I have been a chronic procrastinator all my life, and there will be times when I've got all of the things that I need in order to do something. I've got all the time. I've got the clear schedule ahead of me. I'm in a focused state of mind, and yet for some reason I just don't do the thing that I'm supposed to do. And that's literally dogged me all of my life until last year when I started using ChatGPT more for there's 3 ways that people use ChatGPT. One is as an assistant. So basically, do this, do that. Write my blog post, do this, whatever it is. So that's the way that most people use it, as an assistant. Other people, though, use it as more for innovation. So you're using it as a thinking partner. So I'm thinking about creating this program. How could we structure it? How could we launch it? And you're using it actually to get that input on the thought process. Well, there is another way that a very few people, I think, are using it, which is to use it as a mirror. So you're basically using it to reflect back how you're showing up, how you're doing things. And this is what I came to the realization of last April, when there was a crucial change that ChatGPT made, where it basically had context across all of your chats, not complete total memory recall, but it could certainly know a lot more about you based on all of the conversations that you'd had. And it was able to reflect back to me my core character traits, which ones were serving me well, which ones really weren't, and which ones could be better redirected into another direction. And that was really pivotal for me, and it kind of changed the way that I show up and create the things that I'm doing in my business and in my life as well. And so this really was the impetus for setting up this program, because it really answers, we don't just need the systems and processes, but we actually need to get a better understanding of ourselves, so that we're working in the optimum way, spending our time in the correct way, doing the right things at the right time, but also understanding ourselves so that we're not letting our core character traits rule us. We are actually rather, looking at ways to harness them and use them for positive growth in our business and in our life. And the final aspect then that we need is support. So really, this Built from the Inside Out program, as I say, we're coming up to this week. We've just had week 11, and week 12 is next week, funnily enough. And that's kind of like the sort of arc of the 3-month program. So we're doing this again in May, but this was really a sort of the new flagship program, because I think it's the complete holistic view of everything that you need if you're looking to start a business online, a content-based business, education business. And so that's what Built from the Inside Out is. Now, that is also, just to give you my view on how that fits into my overall thing here, is again something that is quite scalable. It's not infinitely scalable, because we have live weekly sessions. I couldn't have necessarily 100,000 people in a live Zoom call, but it is more scalable than what was the VIP of the Academy. So what I did with that was I separated out the office hours sessions, and I created this thing called the Momentum Mastermind, because, as I say, it's not just a Q&A, it is more of a mastermind. And so that was another reason to actually separate that that from the Academy because it gave clarity then on the structure. So this is a very clear sort of almost like an ascension path, if you like, where the mastermind is this really focused group. We never have more than 20 in a session. Usually it's more like 10 or 12, something like that, in the sessions there. And so that was, again, to just separate it out from the Academy. And the Built from the Inside Out is a finite program over a cohort over 12 weeks, but lifetime access to the content, whereas the Momentum Mastermind is a sort of yearly commitment, but where people are showing up live every week and sort of sharing their progress. There is another tier that I've got, though, because people will always want that sort of one-to-one. I do offer ad hoc one-to-one consultation sessions. I call them the success sections. You can book a discovery call on my website and then, have an hour-long session. But I've also got something called the Digital Stage Elite, and that is my one-to-one coaching program, which is either 3 months or 12 months. That obviously has to be restricted just because I've only got so many hours in the day. So I never have more than 6 people in that program at one time, all individual. So there's no crossover there between them, but they just only ever have 6 people that are in that program at one time. So those are the sort of different programs that I've got. And I just kind of lay those out there because one of the things that, one of the comments that I've had over time is if you're on my email list and you will have seen me, sending out information about this new program or that new program coming up, then yeah, sometimes I get it, confusing between all of the different programs. And part of the reason for that is that it's just been evolving over time. And so even things like, the Take One Tech Academy evolving into the Digital Stage Academy, the VIP evolving into the Momentum Mastermind. It's taken a little bit of a while to sort of get to this point because it's all been an evolution. And so it's a bit like, when you're turning a ship, you can't just sort of press a button and have it all done at once. And it does take a little bit of a while. But hopefully that is a little bit clearer, though, on the website than it always used to be. And it's useful when you are creating a content business to make sure people do have a very clear, ascension path. So, different levels. These are all at different price points as well. So, this starts for $27 a month for people to come into the Academy to get access to all of those courses. If they buy the courses as standalone, the courses are like $197 each. So on the landing page on my website, you can go into the individual courses and purchase those individually. But for those that want to have that access on a subscription basis, then that's where the Academy comes in. The Built from the Inside Out program is a higher ticket thing. That's the launch price of that was $2,500, but it's going up for the next iteration. And then we've got the Momentum Mastermind. Now, I'll mention this one in particular because I do have a launch offer on that at the moment, which is, I say launch offer, it's basically the launch of the rebranding. It's not a new product. It's been around for 3 years. We've got people in there that are coming into their 4th year now. So it's definitely, well established, and we've got some great folks in there. And I've dropped a link to it in the chat. You will have seen it pinned to the top as well. But that is available through till the end of January with basically 40% off. So the regular price, I'll leave the link to it there, is the price today is $2,997. The regular price will be $4,995 when it at the end of January, when it just becomes the regular price. So if you're interested in being a part of a group of people that are all looking to make a change in their business, then this is the program to join. And it also includes lifetime access. Although it's a year-long program for the mastermind, it also includes lifetime access to all of those other courses as well. And in fact, any other new courses that I add into the Academy. I have got an entire list of new products that are coming out. I need to update the Stream Deck Masterclass actually as well. There's been a few updates to that, and there's more videos to go in the Video Studio Masterclass, but they're always evolving, and so that would include lifetime access to that as well. So that is just a bit about the programs there. As I say, you can find them all linked in the description. But the other aspect to the business then is events. And I'm just going to mention this from the point of view of, again, this is all a little bit of, as you can see, it's a bit of self-promotion in here, but I'm also sharing the process for those that are looking to sort of replicate this or do the same. And so aside from the courses and programs, the other side of the business then really is events. And they are all in many ways in support support of the programs to a certain extent. So again, I've done multiple different events before. I do events, by the way, for other people. So for example, like Ecamm Live, I've run a number of workshops for them that have been over a series of days. I actually was one of the guest presenters at the first Ecamm Live Creator Camp as well. So there's things like that. But in terms of my core events, these as well have been a bit of an evolution over the past few years. But I've really distilled these down into some core events now. So the first one, which is coming up again in March, I did it for the first time in March last year, the Digital Stage Summit. Now, the purpose of this was, it was basically 3 days. We had 11 hours a day, each day for 3 days. And over that time, we had a mixture of 42 speakers, panelists and commentators. So the format for those sessions was basically a half-hour speaker slot, 15 minutes of me and them Q&A and me fielding questions from the audience. And then there was a quarter of an hour slot, which was for commentators. That format was really, really well received because rather than just sort of back-to-back, one speaker after another, breaking it up like that meant that people had the opportunity to digest the information because you got half an hour of the content, then there was the back and forth with questions directly with the speaker, and then this extra 15 minutes of commentary worked really well because it was basically two people just sharing their own perspective of the thing that we'd just watched. So it was really well received, and I'm basically going to completely replicate the format again this year. So that will be taking place middle of March, in the third week of March for the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I forget the dates offhand, but anyway, you'll see me talking about that closer to the date. But the Digital Stage Summit, having multiple speakers in over multiple days, as a creator, you are leveraging then the audiences of all of the other speakers. So I don't just mean me, I mean all of the other speakers as well, because they are all sharing it out on social media. It's a great way to collaborate. And I should say, actually, that the summit came off the back of a conversation I had with ChatGPT on the 1st of January last year, which was kind of like the early seed of what I later did in April to do the whole thing with my core character traits and so on. That became Built from the Inside Out. But the question I asked it was, tell me about something about myself that I may not know about myself. And it comes back with this really glowing report of all the wonderful things about you that you may not have noticed. And it's like, okay, cut the BS, now be hypercritical and do the same. That one was far more meaningful. And that came up with a number of things that, I could probably work on. And we had then further conversations and looked at, I said, well, what are, 3 things that I could do this quarter 1, 25, to actually improve on these things. And one of those was collaboration. And from a conversation, that whole idea of collaborating more turned out to be, well, let's just create the Digital Stage Summit and invite all of these speakers in. So yeah, taking part in something like that or organizing one yourself is a great way to get yourself in front of more people who are, within your potential circle, who would be interested in your content. And it was, my pleasure to host it, and it was my pleasure to, therefore, hopefully, shine a light on some other folks. But I definitely got some of that residual glow from that as well, because there were other people that were introduced to me that obviously didn't know me before. And actually the summit I used as partly an access point into the academy. So I talked about how in the summit we had days 1, 2, and 3. It was all about, showing up on video online. And so day 1 was about this sort of the tech side of it, really, the tech that is involved in showing up on your digital stage on video. Day 2 was more about the sort of on-screen skills, about video presence and presentation and things like that. And then day 3 was around the sort of business side of it, and also the mindset side as well. So 3 very clear days there. And I took people on the arc at the beginning of saying that, we've got this idea of, I always talk about the value formula, visuals, audio, and lighting are the practical things that you need to understand in terms of showing up on video, and the U is for understanding. But understanding is not just the technical aspects of what you think you need to know, but U is also for understanding what's possible. And that was kind of the whole point of the summit, was here's a glimpse of what is possible from all of these other experts. Here's what they're doing and here's how they're doing it. So it was really those first 4 aspects of the value formula. But the E is about execution. And so for me, I used that as the my final session of the summit. I was like the final speaker at my own summit, funnily enough. And I positioned that as then not just the where the summit fits into that value formula, but how the academy is the next logical step for people looking to continue that journey. So very much the summit was then, a feed into the academy. So if you are putting on events, it's always useful to think about the bigger picture and where those fit in all of that. Now, another event that I'm going to be running regularly is called the Freedom Formula. And this is something that was built on my experience of building a business, because the fact of the matter is, I've built a business on YouTube that has given me what I call the 4 pillars of freedom. So a lot of people will chase financial freedom. It's the one that everybody talks about. It's, there are countless gurus out there preaching about how you can, get this elusive financial freedom through whatever means that is. But actually, what I realized largely through my coaching, actually, as well as my own experience, is that financial freedom is not all it's cut out to be, because it only means something if you've got these other 3 pillars of freedom with it as well. And that is the location freedom. So you could have the financial freedom and have a successful business, and people could outwardly look and see, oh, this person's got it. But then if you are, not in the place that you want to be, then that's not necessarily great as it looks. And I've spoken to countless people who are like, I'm just grinding away. Things are going great, but I'm grinding away, and I'm looking forward to the time when I can either retire or I can move to this other place. So having the location freedom is also another element that you need to be sort of considering. The other one then is time freedom. How many people have, seemingly successful, but have no time for, their families or the things that they want to be doing, because they're just spending all of the time in the grind of actually doing it all. And then the final one is the mental freedom. And that is the feeling that, you're not just constantly on the grind and can't sort of step away from it for any moment. Now, I will say that when I started on YouTube, I had none of those 4 because I definitely wasn't in a situation of feeling like, well, I'm experiencing financial freedom now. But I also was pretty much like stuck where I was. I couldn't just think that I'm just going to get up and move somewhere else easily at the time. Now, that wasn't such an issue for me because, I'm living here in Thailand and it's pretty lovely everywhere. So there is that. But then the other 2, though, importantly, the time freedom and the mental freedom. I always used to kind of identify as somebody who could never switch off. So, oh yeah, it's just me. I'm always on. I can't go and sit and relax by a pool or something like that. When we go on holiday, I'm just like itching to do something. It's like I can't just sort of sit still. And that's actually not because I'm so active and physically fit, obviously, but because my mind is always racing, or at least it was. And so I never really had that mental freedom because I was constantly really overloaded with things. And so the freedom formula was around how you can build a business that can absolutely, grow. Not like this is not some overnight success, get rich quick scheme or anything like that. But you can absolutely build an education-based content business, just as I have, that actually with a bit of foreplanning, certainly you could shortcut the time it's taken me and really seriously just creating courses. I've only been doing that for less than 4 years now, and I could have certainly accelerated the process had I known then what I knew now. And so the freedom formula is about that, how you can create an online business that can give you the freedom to be able to work on your terms, work where you want, work how you want, and have that mental and time freedom as well. I used to work really long hours and feel like I couldn't switch off, and I would be thinking about stuff well into the night and when I woke up. Now I've definitely got a clear switch off point. And so like right now it's 9:45 here in Thailand, and I'll be done by 2 o'clock, 2:30, and then it's time to go and pick the kids up, and then that's me with them for the rest of the day. So it doesn't have to completely dominate your day, and to have the freedom to go places when you want and move when you want. We've just recently, I say recently, 6 months ago, relocated just to be in a better location for a better school for the kids and so on. And it's all been possible through this business. And that's really what I wanted to share, the message I wanted to share with the Freedom Formula. And that was a 3-day event. And I mentioned that because that event was basically a lead-in to the Built from the Inside Out. So the Freedom Formula was a value-packed 3-day event, but that then said, you know, if you want to take things further and take the next step and have the support and guidance, then the Built from the Inside Out program is the way forward from there. Now, another event then, the Digital Stage Revolution. I ran this actually 2 years ago, and I'll be doing it again this year. And this was basically a condensed version of a lot of the things that I talk about in all of the programs, really, but just distilled down into in that case, a 4-day event. I'll be kind of refining this and making it more like a 2-day weekend event, maybe starting on a Friday night and then having it the Saturday and Sunday. The first time I run this is actually as this updated version. I'll be doing it in Singapore, but then we'll be looking to take it to other locations. So Digital Stage Summit is a completely virtual online summit with multiple speakers. The Freedom Formula then is a virtual event done from actually I've got a separate studio downstairs just for that. The Digital Stage Revolution, however, is an in-person event. And again, this is just thinking about from a creative point of view, in the same way that we've got the Academy, the Built from the Inside Out, the Momentum Mastermind and Digital Stage Elite are different levels of access and interaction. It's exactly the same with the events. Obviously, when you get to spend time with people face to face, I love all that we can do virtually, but it's also great to be able to have that sort of direct interaction, shake somebody's hand, have a coffee with them and that sort of thing. So that's what the Digital Stage Revolution is. And that I see as being more a kind of leader into then, you know, ongoing support. What do you do after the events happened? Well, that's where, you know, there is the potential of either the Momentum Mastermind or Built from the Inside Out. So I'm always thinking about these things as how they all sort of fit together, not just as a standalone event. They all fit into this sort of bigger picture. Now, the final event, which I haven't run yet, I've done retreats before, but it is called the Legacy Retreat. And this is basically the culmination of everything, really, and is really the natural progression, more so for people who have done the Momentum Mastermind and the Built from the Inside Out. And the retreat is all about bringing a select group of people together where we spend 2 weeks. And it's not just a case of 2 weeks of solid work. These things work best when there is a combination of, you know, group activities, rest and relaxation as well, but you have some really clear focused time on the business. I've already got the outline of this because it's basically the same blueprint that I've used before, not with Take One Tech, but with other programs that I've developed. And these work really well. So 2 weeks, 10 people, where you each get basically half of day focused. Now that sounds like not a lot of focus time. You would think 2 weeks, only half a day focused time on my business. Well, the whole point is there is other group days that are focused on different things. But if you take, you know, 5 people and you've each got half a day focused on your specific business, but you are all in the room at the same time and you're all going through the process, you're all learning from the questions that others are asking, but it is just that dedicated time to develop your own plan and whatever. And then, as I say, it's you have to see the schedule for it to all make sense. But it's a really sort of high touch event, effectively. And so that's something that I'm going to be launching a little bit later. And at some point I'll open up the sort of open it up for people that are interested in doing it. But that is, yeah, in the same way that Digital Stage Elite, there's only a certain number of people that can come on that. It'll be the same with the retreat as well, because it only works because of the really small number that are on there and the really tight group. But the point of this is, having built all of this out, what I'm now doing is I'm now returning back to YouTube, because having kind of been somewhat neglecting my recorded videos over the past 2 or 3 years, because I've been busy behind the scenes building all of those courses and then these programs that are associated with them and everything else. When you get to the process of your repeating programs, like Built from the Inside Out has just nearly finished now, and that's its beta run. I'll be running it again. The same with the Freedom Formula. I had to build a whole new studio out for that, and for some other webinars that I'm going to be running as well. All of the sort of preparation from that has taken a huge amount of time, really, to just get it all set up. But now that it's set up, it's just kind of running effectively. And so this is where I'm going to be getting back to YouTube. And what I will say is, yes, when I look at my YouTube analytics, I can show you exactly how they have looked over the past 5 years, because what happened basically was for the first 3 years, it was just a steady climb. And for the past 2 years, I would say it's been a steady decline. And that is because I've just not had the recorded content that has been going out. So let me just show you, if I go to the last lifetime, and then I'll show you what this chart looks like. If we take a look at, this is my my total views, so just coming up to 2 million views total. But this is from, you can see there it says April, but technically the first stream was here. May the 14th was the first stream. And so what you're looking at here is the total number of views, like on a daily basis. So 37, 74, whatever. Now, if you look at the sort of trend line of this, you can see that there is a very clear spike where it's basically going up to this point here. This is kind of like a peak. And there are like obviously little spikes all the way along that. But then as we keep going, it's basically just tailing off. So there is a very distinct peak there. And that peak was around about the end of 2023. So let's say end of 23. And so from basically 2021 to 2023, that's 2 years of that steady growth on YouTube. And when I say steady growth, I mean growth in the number of people watching every day. Actually, the number of subscribers has always gone up. You may have had a difference in, like if I click on subscribers, we will see here that, and it's been skewed by some of these spikes. The actual number of subscribers at my more like the peak, I was getting, double digits every day, whereas more recently it's slowed down considerably. So I've not been getting as many subscribers every day. But one thing to note is pretty much every day the number of total subscribers always goes up because new people are always finding you. But when I'm talking about the sort of growth of the channel, I'm talking more about, actually more people watching on a daily basis. And so, yeah, after 2023, because I was only posting, far fewer videos every week, or even every month, I wasn't doing daily posts, then it was just reliant on, really the old back catalogue. And as you get further on, obviously, all of those 100 videos that I made, up at this end of the spectrum, all of those 100 videos are now getting more and more out of date. What I was really interested in, and I'm going to say pleased to see, though, was although these sort of number of views on a daily basis had tailed off until just towards the end of last year, when I posted a series of videos. As soon as I posted those recorded videos, and let me just make sure I'm showing you the right thing here because it seems like it's zoomed in on the wrong part. Let me try that again. I'll zoom in on the right part here this time. Yeah, what I noticed was, as soon as I did start posting those videos again, whoops, there's a bit of a lag on my button here to zoom. Then we did just get this sort of spike up again of people watching. And actually, that when I did post those few videos towards the end of December, that spike was then basically, as you can see, higher than almost as high, rather, I should say, as the peak on any previous period. And when it settled down, it's now settled down to a higher level than it was before. And so, and by the way, this is where I talk about, revenue on YouTube. I've had 2 million views in total. I know some people get millions of views on one video. I definitely don't. But the total revenue altogether over the entire almost 5 years now is $15,000. So that's where I say, don't think that the main source of revenue is going to be YouTube, because it's unless you're getting lots and lots of views, hundreds of thousands, it's not particularly significant. But if I just go back to the last 90 days, for example, what you'll see is, and again, I've only just started posting again, but the views here were sort of flat. I posted a few videos just before Christmas, before New Year and after New Year, and then last 2 or 3 weeks I've been busy with the Ecamm Live Masterclass Accelerator. But as soon as I post other new videos, not just live streams, those views do sort of pop back up again. And so all of this is to say that I absolutely will be, given that my entire business has been built on YouTube, even though you might not think that I've been paying it much attention for the past 3 years, now is the time, having built all of the architecture in the background, that I'm going to get back to it. Now, I will say, don't do as I do. Don't think that you've got to take time off YouTube to suddenly build a load of content. What I absolutely should have been doing is just continuing to post consistently all of that time, and then I wouldn't have needed to have had that little downslope on the other side. It would have just been one continuous, upward slope. So again, don't do as I'm doing, but keep the posting up. One of the things that I made the mistake of doing, and this is something that I've worked through with my therapist, aka ChatGPT. Is basically taking on too much. And it's one of the things that we talk about in the Built from the Inside Out program, is this idea of rather than thinking you've got to build like the complete, everything in one go, what is the minimum viable transformation that you can offer? What is the minimum viable program that you can create? And this is not to say, what's the least work you can do. Rather is how can we reduce the friction so that you can actually start shipping and get your things out there, but also be conscious of launch windows. And I tend to work in quarterly phases now. I've always done quarterly planning, but usually what I used to do was have quarterly planning with like 50 major projects on it, and then subsequently would never get all of them fully complete, and then also would have to let things fall by the wayside, like my YouTube video creation. So now I've become a lot more conscious about just having one clear focus for the quarter. So the Ecamm Live Accelerator, the Built from the Inside Out program. Next we'll be moving on to, now that that's done, I've got basically a sort of clear month to think about the next evolution of the Digital Stage Summit, and then after that will be another program. So I'm very much thinking in these quarterly zones now, but it has just freed up a lot of time then, so that I can get back to the YouTube content creation. So that is a bit of an update. And if you are not using YouTube for your business, it absolutely is something that, as I say, you can completely grow an entirely organic business from. But if you're using it in conjunction with all of your other marketing efforts, then it's only going to amplify those things even further. And thinking about, when we talk about, somebody needs to have 7 touch points before they, make a buying decision. You can handle the entire, people going from awareness to understanding what you have to offer, addressing any concerns or things that they may have, roadblocks that they may have before moving forward onto the entire part of the sales process, other than just the buying part, potentially through all of your YouTube content. I don't mean by just a direct video. I mean, this has been quite a promotion related video in some ways, because I'm talking about all my programs. I don't mean by that. I mean just by sharing the information that you have that is in support of the programs or the products that you have to offer. I will just get to a question. I've just been talking non-stop, so let me just come to a question, which if you're still here, let me just drag this over to here and get the actual question up. What made back to technical stuff again? Any questions that you've got about anything I've covered, or technical questions is all good. I'll be interested to see after the fact actually the streams, if both streams are up and working, because as I mentioned, I'm doing this in vertical and horizontal using the new Ecamm Beta at the moment. What made me choose the pod mic over the SM7B or the RE20, or is there a brand reason? So the SM7B is kind of like, and the RE20, but the SM7B is it's almost like a gold standard in podcast mic. You'll see lots of podcasters use the Shure SM7B. If you're not sure what the model number is, just think of folks like Joe Rogan and anybody that you can think of that is high level podcaster. They're going to use either the SM7B from Shure, or they're going to use the RE20. Now the thing about it is, when I started, I actually didn't use this one. I used the Shure MV7, and the reason I used that is because both the SM7B and the RE20, they require an external interface. So right now, for example, this is my setup, and I've got my Rodecaster Pro 2 here going into Ecamm Live, running on a computer somewhere behind here, and that's what's running this this entire stream. But the interface here, the Rodecaster, you need something like that. There are other interfaces available, but that is required for the SM7B and the RE20 to work. Now, when I started on YouTube, I always say, you know, you don't need to look at somebody's setup and think that you need to have like all of these things in order to you know, start creating video. You can literally just use your phone. Your phone will connect to your computer via continuity camera if you're using an Apple phone, and then, yeah, you know, you can use that as your camera. The one thing I would say is just invest in a decent mic. Now, because I didn't want to invest in a Rodecaster or an external interface, the thing about the Shure MV7, which is kind of like the little brother or sister to the SM7B, is it still has really good audio quality. But one of the things it has is both a USB and an XLR connector. So XLR being the regular sort of microphone connector, and USB obviously just means it can plug directly into the computer. So I bought the MV7 because it meant that I could plug it in over USB, and then if at some point I decided to get more into video or update my system, I could add in an external interface. Obviously, I've gone a little bit further than that now, so I have got the external interface, but that's why I got the MV7, because it gave me that sort of upgrade path. Now, at the time, Rode, which is this one, Rode didn't have the pod mic USB. They had the pod mic, which was only XLR, and they had a USB mic, which was only USB. But the pod mic USB has both, same as the MV7, it has XLR and USB. Now, Rode did send me this for a review, so this is full disclosure, about 2 years ago or whenever it came out. So there is that. But I absolutely would still be using the MV7 if they had not sent it to me, because the MV7 is another great mic and you get great audio quality. And even though I did get the mixer, the MV7 can plug into the Rodecaster, and I used it with that for a long time. And so using all the onboard processing on the Rodecaster allowed me to do a little bit more with it. But the audio quality of the MV7 was great. Now, if I can just say one thing that does sort of separate the MV7 from the pod mic is that the pod mic has got onboard processing as well. The MV7, you can adjust the settings of it and things like that. They've got the Shure Motive app that allows you to do that. The pod mic, you use the Rode app on your desktop. But one of the things that this has got that the Rode doesn't have, that the Shure doesn't have, is it's got what's called a noise gate. So this is one of the dynamic processors that you've got. I won't go through all of them. I've got a video on my channel about if you want to understand dynamic audio processing that you can do with the Rodecaster. But the one in particular on the pod mic, which is useful, is the noise gate. And what this does is this basically, when I stop speaking, it stops any noise from coming through. So literally, like, think of it as a gate that shuts when I shut up. And the reason why that's important to me is because I've actually got an air conditioning unit running, and if I switch off my noise gate, when I stop speaking, you may be able to hear that hiss in the background, which is my aircon. Now, when I stop speaking, now that the noise gate's on, it basically stops all that audio coming through. So it does a really good job of stopping that. As it happens, I'm using the noise gate on my Rodecaster now rather than on the pod mic, but it is just built in. So even if you are using it over USB, this is a great mic to add that to it. I personally can't necessarily tell too much difference. There is a difference between the pod mic USB and the Shure MV7, and there will be purists out there who will do those side-by-side tests, and I'm now talking into this mic, and now I'm talking into this mic, and you can tell the difference. But for me, there reaches a point where there is diminishing returns basically on the microphone. And I can just show you something for comedy effect, because this is genuinely in my Amazon. What happens with me is I go through phases where I think I should probably get the Shure SM7B. And that's the one that I should probably go with because it's the Shure SM7B. Have a look at my Amazon cart right now. It's literally sitting in my Amazon cart, but it's been sitting in my Amazon cart for months now, and I just never quite pulled the trigger on it. And the reason why I never pulled the trigger on it is because I think that it is, once you've got a certain level of audio quality, am I illegible now using this microphone? And so whenever I'm thinking of what I'm going to invest in, I can never think to to say, well, I'm going to invest in the SM7B because it's not really going to make my content any better than this microphone that I've got here. So yeah, I don't ever consider myself, funnily enough, a mic guy or a camera guy. I like the cameras because they give me the ability to show what I'm going to show, but I'm not somebody who's really into like diving into every single setting. I haven't come from the photography world, and it's the same with the mic. Really, you know, it's reached a point where I think I can't tell the difference, you know, to a point of saying that is, you know, significantly better to think that I'm going to jump to that other microphone. The things that make more difference to me are the kind of ease of use things. So for example, you know, I recently added this touchscreen monitor to my setup because that allows me to do things, you know, like scroll the chat and things like that from the touchscreen rather than, you know, going and clicking around on it. So that was something that was to do with, you know, the production. It actually gives me new features and functionality. Same with things like, you know, talking about not like cameras. You know, I do like the Osmo Pocket because this gives me a little sort of mobile camera that is useful and adds something to my my setup. When it comes to just, you know, changing my main camera, which is still the Sony ZV-E10 with a Sigma 30mm lens, that one has been my camera for, I guess, nearly 4 years now, and has just been behind my prompter unchanged. So the tech things that I tend to go for are things that are going to add something to my my workflow or my my setup. My gosh, that was a really long question to a really long answer to a really short and simple question. What made me choose the pod mic? There we go. Never say I'm not thorough. Do you have the Rode Video S, and how do you use it in conjunction with the Rodecaster Pro 2? I don't have the Rode Video S. I do have the Rodecaster Video. I don't use it with Ecamm, so I use Ecamm for all of my live production. And the thing about the Rodecaster Video is it, at the moment, it only presents one or possibly two camera feeds into the computer. And for Ecamm, I want to be able to have access to all of those. So here's my my main camera, my side camera. I've got another camera here, another camera here. I've got my little camera, this one over here. I've got my top-down camera. So I've got all these different camera angles, and I can only do that in Ecamm because Ecamm can see every single camera. If I was using the Rodecaster Video, which is a hardware switcher, Ecamm is a software camera switcher. If I was to use the Rodecaster Video, Ecamm would only see basically one of those feeds. There is a little way you can do it. You can basically send one of the cameras, like loop it out through one of the HDMI ports and send it separately into the computer. But that's another thing. What I'm more interested in, because I love the Rodecaster Video, I do use the Rodecaster Video in my studio downstairs, actually. So I've got another kind of, I don't know if my camera's on there, but another standing studio, like a physical stage almost. And so those cameras are actually going through the Rodecaster Video for other reasons. One of the things that I always said was when the Rodecaster Video came out, what I would love to see is, first of all, have the Rodecaster Video and the Rodecaster Pro 2 merged into one kind of mega device that has video and audio. But what I'd also love to see is the ability to have, like, all of the cameras, you can just plug them all into this device, but then it also sends all of those cameras as individual feeds into the computer. And then basically you've got something like the Rodecaster Pro 2, but like acts as a video hub as well. And all of that handles all of your audio and video in and out of Ecamm or your software. Now, we've got moves towards that. It hasn't been released yet, but they announced it at CES, and it's called the Rodecaster Video Core. Let me just pull this up for you because it's pretty cool. It basically is a box that plugs into your Rodecaster Pro 2 and turns your Rodecaster Pro 2 into your video switcher. Pretty cool. Rodecaster Video Core, it's called. Let me see if I can find an image of it for you. Let's see. I maybe can't find an image, but perhaps I can just get a video of it because somebody showed it at CES. Let's see. I'll show you on this one. I've just got to be careful about the volume here. This is a... I'll have to just show you like this. This is the this is a clip from a video, Rodecaster Video Core first look at CES. It's basically this grey box here. Now, what happens is this gray box plugs into the Rodecaster Pro 2, and then the pads on the Rodecaster Pro 2 are what you use for camera switching, as well as, the Rodecaster Video's software. You can control that with Stream Deck. So you can basically have all of your video inputs plugged into this box, the Rodecaster Video Core. That is then plugged into your Rodecaster Pro 2, and then technically you would be able to control that with Stream Deck. So you could set up an entire hardware video switcher using this. And I've got to say, when I started and ultimately went with first OBS and then Ecamm, one of the things that I looked at was the ATEM series of hardware camera switchers. And I've just never liked the ATEM interface in terms of the back end of it, how you program it, how you create scenes. And Ecamm is so much more fluid in terms of being able to just create scenes on the fly. It's sort of drag and drop creativity, really simple to create. The Rodecaster Video is the thing that in my view has come closest to that from a hardware switcher. The way that you can build out scenes, you can create something a bit similar to the scene that I've got here with my camera on one side, the screen share on the other, rounded corners, drop shadows, movement going on in the background. Yes, technically you can kind of do that in the ATEM as well. It's nowhere near as intuitive or as fluid to be able to do it in that as it is in the Rodecaster Video. So I really love the Rodecaster Video. I'm just an Ecamm fanboy and love that more. So that's why I'm still using Ecamm. For the other things we can do with it. Ecamm integrates directly with Zoom, and there's just other things that I still can do in Ecamm that I can't do with the Rodecaster Video. But if I get my hands on one of these, I would replace my Rodecaster Video in my studio downstairs with that, and actually just have move my Rodecaster Pro 2 down there. I could probably just use my Rodecaster Duo in this studio up here. Once again, another long question. So no, I don't use it in my regular workflow because I do all of that with Ecamm. Thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate that. And yeah, there is a heavy slant on Ecamm in terms of my content on my channel. I've actually tried to not have so much of a predominant Ecamm focus on the channel, and that was kind of intentional, just because I didn't want to completely alienate PC users, but I still do regular videos about my the Ecamm updates, so the beta that's come out and the new software updates. I do always cover those, and of course now I just direct people to my free Ecamm Live masterclass for all the Ecamm training. Well, with that said, if there are no further questions at all, and by the way, thanks, Rich. I noticed that when I asked if the streams were working, you've posted in both of them, so that's great to know that it hasn't completely broken. I highly encourage. There's never been a better time to start on YouTube because, well, the best time is always now. What I mean by that is definitely don't delay, and you don't have to get perfect. You can just start with exactly where you are right now and start creating content. But it's a really great inbound marketing tool, and whether you are starting from scratch or starting in support of an existing business, it's absolutely a great time to start making those videos right now. And as I'm going to be getting back to doing myself, you will find a link to the Momentum Mastermind. All of those programs are available, but the Momentum Mastermind in particular is the one that is, I would say, it's the most impactful because it's about a whole group of people coming together and making some real progress in their business, with their tech and the business side of things as well. And as I say, that offer is running through till the end of January. What I'll do is YouTube will leave another video over here for those that are watching on horizontal. For those that are on vertical, it just looks like I'm pointing out to the side. For those watching on horizontal, we'll see some other things popping up on screen now. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.